But anyway, let's talk about MacBook Air.
All right.
MacBook Air M2, the review is now finally out. We know what we're getting into with the MacBook Air. Do you have any hot takes or any thoughts on the MacBook Air now that it's out?
Yeah, I mean, I've used it a little bit now, and I like the shape overall, obviously, because their move to that flat design is nice. It sort of feels like a mini MacBook Pro. Like
exactly.
A newer MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
But I will say I do kind of miss the wedge a little bit just because it gave you a slight angle to your hands, which was nice.
Yeah.
But obviously the new screen is way better. All these things are way better. But again, a little bit deceptively expensive because you don't want to buy that base model because it only has one 256 gigabyte chip instead of two 128 chips that can work in parallel.
Yeah. I think a lot of people sort of missed that, but that was kind of one of the biggest points of the review, which is the M1 MacBook Air was amazing. It was $1,000. And that was like, I feel like that was the most universally recommended computer for like 2 years straight.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, this computer is great at this price. It's $1,000. It's very competitive. Go for it. So now this is the upgraded version of that. But anytime you see Apple like leave the old version in the lineup, you always wonder like, okay, what are they doing with pricing here?
Yeah.
So they left that at $1,000. You can find it on like Amazon or Best Buy, I'm sure, for like $8.99 or something. But now the MacBook Air M2 starts at $1,200, and that base version has 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage.
Yeah.
A $1,200 computer should not have 256 gigs of storage,
that's
right?
like a phone or an iPad or something.
It's pretty disappointing. But even at that price, not only is it not a lot of storage, but it is particularly slow storage. So like you said, it's using a single SSD chip instead of two in parallel, which would be faster. And so you end up with this like half read, half write speed that kind of gets annoying when you get into memory swap territory.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of Chrome tabs open. You know what they do with RAM and Chrome. Like you start to slow down. You realize that's not performing the way it usually does. And we actually noticed this using it. So I highly, highly recommend upgrading from that base to getting at least the 512 gigs of storage.
Yeah. I mean, I would do that anyway because 256 on a laptop is just
There's just so many reasons to upgrade. So that puts you at 1,400.
Yeah.
And that's still with the 8 gigs of RAM. Maybe you bump up the RAM. Maybe you want to bump up the GPU or whatever. But that's at least 1,400. And I would think about this laptop as a minimum $1,400 laptop.
Yeah.
Now it's not so easy. Like $1,000, if you have $1,000 to spend, you might still be fine getting the M1 MacBook Air. You're missing out on the new design and MagSafe and the fast charging and maybe the extra port now that MagSafe opens that up. But yeah, it's a pretty good computer for the price still. Nothing about that changed.
Yeah, the M series chips are still amazing. I think I saw a lot of comments being like, oh, everyone was saying the M chips are so amazing last year, and now they're like kind of being negative about M2 chips. It's like when you make a giant generational leap like that, obviously every year after that's going to be like kind of slow increments.
Yeah.
But the GPU increases are pretty sick.
Yeah.
Alone. So.
One of my favorite takes about this laptop, because I sort of opened the review talking about how this is the first one that's designed around Apple Silicon. Like we had the old body with the Intel MacBook Air, and then we put M1 inside. Now this is all designed around the chip. I feel like we now realize that the 12-inch MacBook was ahead of its time. Just a little bit ahead of its time, because they tried to put an Intel chip in there, and the 12-inch MacBook makes the new MacBook Air look big. Like this is a very small, thin, ultra portable laptop. And I want to see that reincarnated with an M1 chip. I feel like that would actually be a really good machine.
Yeah. If you've used the new MacBook Pros, like the 14-inch and the 16-inch, and then you use a MacBook Air M2, it is weirdly thin because it's like the same shape, but it's like half the height. It's really weird.
Yeah. It's like a little shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
So I'm a fan. I think go watch that review. It's got a lot of good things going for it. But obviously keep that price in mind and keep that, that
also
delta.
The fingerprints. When we were going through the comments section, trying to find the most asked questions, everyone was talking about the fingerprints.
We were originally going to try to do like a sort of a Q&A style review. Right. And it turned out that most of the questions that people were asking were pretty easily answered in the normal review. Yeah. And then the extra bits were just like, can you guys like talk about the fingerprints and like how bad that is?
Yeah.
It was annoying. We were shooting in like B-roll out in the open, and Brandon was getting a shot of the back of the computer as I was using it. He's like, oh, let me just wipe it off real quick. I was like, nope, can't wipe it off. We got to show it the way it actually looks in the real world, which is it's going to look like
anytime you pick it up.
As soon as you touch it. So yeah, MacBook Air. It's out there now. Hey, thanks for watching this Waveform clip. Just want you to know that if you don't like this clip and aren't already subscribed, then the next package that arrives at your house may or may not be a glitter bomb from me. Just saying.
Yikes.
That's it.